Welcome, Gemini and Gemini cross watchers, to your reading for this week. Hope you guys are all having a good week. So we have the Two of Pentacles here. Gemini, it looks like you're feeling really confident. I feel like you are, it's almost like you might be discussing something with someone or presenting it to them. But it feels like there's a message here that like you don't actually care if they're going to like it or not. Right? It feels like you're kind of displaying something, but it's more because you're proud of it rather than anything else. I feel like, you know what it feels like? It feels like you're proud of it, but you know that other people aren't going to see it as wow, I can't even speak. I feel like you know other people are not going to place the same value on it. So it's like maybe you're telling other people about it, but you know that they're not going to get as jazzed as you are. So I feel like because there isn't an expectation for that to happen, there isn't actually much of a connection between you and whoever it is. It feels like you're going to feel really powerful this week, right? Like you're really on top of your business, kind of like channeling. This might sound a little bit out there for some of you, but this is what I'm seeing. It's got this energy of feeling like you're taking the first step towards something that might even be bigger than you realize, right? That's how it feels. It's almost like you're at the first step of the hermit journey here. Look, we have the magician here at the bottom of the deck. Hold on for a second. Actually, we're going to get a couple clarifiers. Just going to make sure the deck is upright. Yeah. So we got the Six of Wands here. I feel like just because you know that people aren't going to value it the way that you do doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt, right? Obviously, that's not going to feel good. And I almost feel like for some of you, even though you're expecting people to not value it as much as you are, I feel like you may be kind of disappointed when you realize, brace yourself, when you realize how little they value it, right? It's like you feel like you found, the way to clean the water for the entire world, and everyone else is like, yeah, well, that's fine. That's great. We drink bottled water, so it's fine. Right? And you're looking at them like, are you insane? And so it feels like it feels like it's going to take the wind out of your sails a little bit, even though you're expecting people to not, you're not expecting people to be as jazzed as you are, but when they just don't care. I feel like that seems to be what actually, and I'm sorry to say this, what seems to drive you to this hermit energy, but not hermit energy in the typical sense of the word. It feels more that it's like the mature, accomplished magician type energy, right? Like the alchemist sort of energy. Oh, deck is upright. So we have Temperance over there and the Nine of Cups. I feel like it might actually leave you feeling a bit forlorn for a time when you had people around you that were like your cheerleaders, that had your back, that would cheer you on. And now you're kind of, the cheese stands alone, if you will. And I feel like you're kind of getting this energy, like you're really understanding what it feels like when people say, oh, it's lonely at the top, right? That's kind of like, it's lonely to be an innovator. And I feel like some of you may be looking at it like, you know what, I might never get the credit that I deserve for this. Yeah, we have the Queen of Swords here. I feel like it almost feels like some of you may be looking at an older maternal figure that's very cold. It may not actually be a female, but it's somebody that kind of has that like caretaker role for you, or they did at one point. And I feel like you saw a flip in them. You saw a switch when they weren't particularly warm, but they were at least kind of a little warm and inviting. And then all of a sudden they became really cold. And I feel like up until this point, you didn't really understand it. But I feel like now you get it. I hope this is making sense, Gemini. I'm sorry if it's not. And I feel like you seem to look up to them now. And I feel like it's almost like there's this pull towards, it could be like a generational thing of like turning off that tap of emotions and moving into this very kind of ethereal but driven energy, right? It's like you have the power of the universe behind you, but you're only in your mind. So it's almost like you may not realize, like if you allow yourself to go into that really cold energy, you may not realize, even though you're having all of those experiences, you're not experiencing them fully because it's only in your mind, right? You're not allowing yourself to feel. And that's not to say that that's where you are right now. I feel like that's where this person is. And I feel like that wanting to feel like they are cold emotionally is actually because they don't want to hurt anymore. And I feel like you kind of have an opportunity here to change that cycle. And I feel like you may be looking at it like, well, that might require, that might require Gemini to spend some time alone. Okay, excuse me. So we got the Page of Wands. Yeah. With the Six of Swords. Strength. I feel like you're going to notice that your life kind of goes in spurts and valleys, right? It's almost like you may be looking at, situations around you and other people around you, not to compare, but just like to see if you measure up, but just to, observe. And I feel like you might look at other people's lives and see them as like, you may have at one point seen them as people that have like more steady lives. And I feel like the more you observe, the more you see that they have just as many peaks and valleys, right? And I feel like you kind of develop this appreciation for the up and the down, right? It feels like you're coming to terms with that, the energy of, the energetic knowing of, when, what's that? All things come to an end. When it's good, it will end, but you can enjoy it. And when it's bad, it will end, right? And so I feel like you kind of seem to come to a little bit of an equilibrium of understanding. I hope this is making sense. And I feel like at times you may feel a little bit overwhelmed, feeling like it's too big for, like wherever you are in your spiritual journey, however this applies to you. I feel like you look at it like it's too, like it's a skill that you're developing that you feel like you should be developing way out here, right? Or like in the future. And I feel like that's, number one, you're selling yourself short. Number two, I feel like you actually already know it. You're just kind of understanding it, right? Like it feels like it's one of those things where you're coming to terms with no longer needing to change it, if that makes sense. So, I think I'll leave it there, Gemini. Actually, hold on for a second. Just going to make sure I got all the cards. We get one card for Gemini. One card for Gemini. We got the Seven of Pentacles. I do feel like something is going to come along that makes you feel renewed, but it's almost like you'll be learning how to experience that renewal whilst also being kind of still in the muck, if you will. Anyway, I love you guys. I hope that made sense. And we will see you on the next one. Much love. Bye.